to Nice Radio every Saturday at 7:30 a.m. for A View from the Outside, hosted by Brereton Horne. A View from the Outside takes a look at key issues affecting St Vincent and the Grenadines and gives a global perspective on how these issues are viewed. Host Brereton Horne will examine a variety of topics to enlighten, stimulate debate, and explore solutions. Hear the facts, hear the real-life stories, hear A View from the Outside. Join Brereton Horne at 7:30 a.m. every Saturday on Nice Radio for A View from the Outside.
On A View from the Outside this week being the 18th of April 2020, we look at security. SECURITY, security, with the view being that the time is now for the people of St Vincent and the Grenadines to have a government which provides them with the assurance of safety, comfort, and security. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines security as the quality or state of being secure. And the Collins Dictionary states that a feeling of security is a feeling of being safe and free from worry. Those definitions tell us that with security, there is quality. With security, there's a feeling of safety. And with security, there's a feeling of being free from worry. Also implicit in those definitions is that security ought to give comfort to people. It is believed that with COVID-19 creating continued discomfort and pain, leaders around the world try to manage the pandemic to protect the lives of their citizens. However, some leaders have shown that they need to do a lot more to assure the citizens of their respective country that they take the citizens' safety and security safely. Many Vincentians at home and in the Vincentian diaspora believe that some of the leaders in St Vincent and the Grenadines, particularly the Prime Minister, have fallen short of providing them with the requisite assurance of that safety and security. That is a view which we, on A View from the Outside, share, and we join with every Vincentian to demand more, much more, from the Prime Minister and others who follow his lead. Last week, in fact, in a statement dated the 10th of April 2020, published in the online publication Eyewitness News, Ranel Roberts-Williams, described as patient zero because of her being identified as the first person in St Vincent and the Grenadines to have contracted COVID-19, told of her experience of having been diagnosed with COVID-19. In that statement, Ranel Roberts-Williams said that she's fully recovered from the deadly coronavirus, COVID-19, having tested negative twice following her initial positive diagnosis on the 11th of March 2020. She said that one of the reasons she decided to share her experience is to reassure those who have questions or fears about COVID-19. In other words, she provided some comfort and some security, especially to those who worry about the disease. She outlined that she is a 34-year-old wife, mother, and Vincentian lawyer. She told of her having to persist and insist on being tested after her initial call to the health authorities was not taken seriously. She told of how scared she was and how she thought her world had come to a grinding halt when she was given the news that she had tested positive for COVID-19. She told of how medical professionals breached her trust and confidence and assurances which they had given to her when they, in a press conference, revealed her details to the public. She told of how unimaginable it was that as a result of such failure by the medical professionals to keep her information confidential, there were calls for her isolation, possibly to another island, and even her execution. She told of how during her period in self-isolation, she received no food from the government, and despite having to provide food for herself with the assistance of her family, she was comforted by family and friends and even clients who offered comfort and prayers. We, on A View from the Outside, salute Ranel Roberts-Williams for having offered her account to the public, not only, as she said, to reassure those who have questions or fears, but also as part of her own therapy following her unfortunate ordeal with COVID-19. And we, here on A View from the Outside, we wish her well in the future. We also thank her for her candor, and we hope that as a result of such candor, those in authority in St Vincent and the Grenadines will not repeat such breach of security, such flagrant breach of trust and confidence pertaining to the personal information of Vincentians. While we hope that there is no further such breach, we are mindful of the fact that the Prime Minister of St Vincent and the Grenadines, in an unrelated subsequent announcement, said that some of those who tested negative for COVID-19 would wish that they had tested positive. What on earth did he mean by that? What did he mean? Anyway, because of that announcement by the Prime Minister, we further hope that the law and procedures are followed strictly and that there is no identification of the nature of any illness or other problems or symptoms of those who tested. Confidentiality must be adhered to. St Vincent and the Grenadines cannot afford to have alarm being caused in the various communities. And St Vincent and the Grenadines cannot afford to attract further notoriety. Since the emergence of COVID-19, it is noticeable that the government of St Vincent and the Grenadines, and specifically the Minister of Agriculture, have announced through agriculture that they will be placing an emphasis on food security for the country. Since that announcement, many have said that the government's emphasis on food security is good, but it is viewed as too little, too late. Many have said that since the government took the reins of power in St. Vincent and the Grenadines almost 2 decades ago, they have been negligent in advancing agriculture as a necessary entity in the country's development. In fact, it is said that some within the government have labeled agriculture as a thing of the past and belonging to the days of Christopher Columbus. We, on A View from the Outside, hope that rather than the government's announcement of placing emphasis on food security is being seen as too little too late, that it turns out to be better late than never. We hope that the current government will now see the folly of their ways of having placed all of their proverbial eggs, proverbial basket of tourism. And we hope that they see the true worth of agriculture. With their emphasis on food security, they must ensure that the ordinary folk in St Vincent and the Grenadines, including farmers, understand what food security means. They must ensure that farmers are not fooled again with the promise of introducing crops which never materialize, like their unfulfilled promise during the 2015 general elections to plant more acres of bananas than that promised by the opposition. They must not fool farmers again. They must provide timescales, etc. They must state when, how, where things are going to happen. COVID-19 is now. So any food security plan in relation to COVID-19 must be now. It must be revealed now. We hope also that real emphasis will be placed on enforcing the Praedia Larceny laws of the country to give farmers peace of mind, comfort, and the security of knowing that they can produce their goods and livestock and be able to benefit and profit from them when they are fully matured, rather than having them stolen because of little or no security from the government. In further reference to security, there are many who believe that the current Prime Minister of St Vincent and the Grenadines needs to focus on the safety and security of those in the country, rather than getting himself unnecessarily enmeshed in the affairs of other countries. Many say he needs to focus on the safety and security of Vincentians at this difficult time, rather than behaving like a bully and getting involved in the affairs of Grenadians. A bully who chickens out behind a 4-paged letter when challenged. However well-meaning he was, being an experienced lawyer, he, probably more than anyone else, knows that it is fundamentally wrong to encourage others to disregard the laws of their country, the country in which they reside, or to disregard the laws of any country for that matter. When he was said to have made the offer to sell food and gas to Grenadians, especially those living in Carriacou and Petite Martinique, by encouraging them to come to Union Island, one of the Grenadine islands of St Vincent and the Grenadines, he knew, or ought to have known, that Grenada was and still is under lockdown, and that its borders are shut, and that Grenadians will be breaking the laws of their country if they accept such an invitation. He knew, or ought to have known full well, that the Grenadian Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Mitchell, had put those measures in place and shut the borders of his country for the safety and security of the Grenadian people to stop the spread of COVID-19, something which he is accused of not having done to protect Vincentians. Many believe that the Prime Minister needs to concentrate on the safety and security of Vincentians, rather than getting himself embroiled in a mini diplomatic spat with the Prime Minister of Grenada. A spat in which the Prime Minister of Grenada branded him as being irresponsible for those comments of invitation to Grenadians. A spat which he, the Prime Minister of St Vincent and the Grenadines, himself described as a village dogfight. A spat in which Dr. Keith Mitchell mocked and laughed at him, pertaining to him carrying a box from an aircraft with donations from Venezuela, a box with a display stamp that its contents were expired. Many say that he, the Prime Minister of St Vincent and the Grenadines, needs to stop making St Vincent and the Grenadines a laughing stock to the outside world, especially with his infantile request and partial rendition of Jago lick them with diseases on his ULP radio station. Surely, Vincentians need better than that. Vincentians need to feel the safety and security of the words of the Prime Minister, rather than having to constantly question the truthfulness of what he says. Vincentians need to feel the safety and security of the Prime Minister leading by example, rather than seeing him flagrantly flaunt the social or physical distancing protocol, which he and his government have adopted from the World Health Organization, the WHO. It is evident from the utterings of Vincentians, including utterings on social media, that many Vincentians do not enjoy such safety and security. It is clear that many Vincentians look at the leadership of other countries around the region and around the world and feel that leadership in St. Vincent and the Grenadines needs to do better, much better. It is vitally important, especially in times like these, when the entire world is in crisis and when Vincentians are faced with all sorts of uncertainty, that all Vincentians are provided with safety, comfort, and security, and not left wanting. We, on A View from the Outside, make that call. And we make that call on behalf of all Vincentians. And in making that call, we acknowledge the words of Pete Buttigieg, a recent contestant in the Democratic presidential candidate and mayor of South Bend, Indiana. He, Pete Buttigieg, recognized the value of a government providing safety and security for its people. He said, I quote, "Safety and security are the most basic job of government." I repeat that. Safety and security are the most basic job of government. Until next week, Randy and all of the listeners, this is Brereton Horne with A View from the Outside, with a reminder to send your feedback, as usual, to aviewfromtheoutside@hotmail.com. We also invite you to visit and like our Facebook page at A View from the Outside, and also visit and subscribe to our YouTube channel at JMB Horne. Have a pleasant Saturday all, have a wonderful Sunday, and have a productive week ahead with everyone demanding more in relation to the safety, comfort, and security of all Vincentians. All the best to you, Randy, and the listeners.